One blade, one shield cutting through Rome. At its peak, Rome suffered two major defeats during its expansion. The first was during the era of the First Triumvirate, when Crassus led an expedition against the Parthian Empire. An organized Roman force of 40,000 was decimated by 20,000 Parthian cavalry who launched wave after wave of arrows. Over 10,000 Romans were killed without even engaging in close combat. The expedition ended in a crushing defeat, and Crassus himself was executed by having molten gold poured down his throat. The second was the famous Battle of the Teutoburg Forest during the early empire. A force of 35,000 Roman soldiers faced the Germanic tribes in open battle and was completely annihilated. This defeat halted Rome's external expansion and largely shaped the borders of Western civilization. Rome's first clash with Germania occurred during the time of the Triumvirate. In 60 BC, Caesar became governor of Gaul and launched an 8-year campaign in the region. Since Germania bordered Gaul, Germanic tribes frequently harassed Caesar's forces. By 55 BC, 5 years later, Caesar had already conquered most of Gaul. He crossed the Rhine and launched two punitive expeditions into Germania. These were called punitive because Caesar withdrew after achieving limited military results. He did so because, at the same time, Crassus had been killed in his disastrous Parthian campaign, breaking the balance of the Triumvirate. Caesar abandoned further expansion and turned to face Pompey in a civil war. In 27 BC, after a 25-year civil war, Rome was reorganized into an empire by Augustus, its first emperor. After more than a decade of recovery and consolidation, Rome reached its peak strength once again and resumed expansion. Germania was the first target. In 12 BC, Augustus sent his stepson Drusus to conquer Germania. Drusus did not disappoint. He successfully subdued several Germanic tribes. Unfortunately, 4 years later, Drusus died after falling from his horse during an assassination attempt. It was rumored that Augustus himself may have orchestrated the assassination, though this remains unproven. The following year, Drusus's brother Tiberius took up the campaign and after 4 more years, finally subdued the defiant Cherusei tribe. To advance deeper into Germania, Rome built many cities on the east bank of the Rhine. Numerous Germanic noble youths were recruited into the Roman military to learn how to become true Romans. Among them, the most successful were 2 brothers from the Cherusei tribe, Arminius and his brother. By this time, Germania was already treated as a Roman province. In 6 AD, Augustus appointed Publius Quinctilius Varus as governor of Germania, tasked with introducing Roman law and tax policies. However, the Germanic tribes deeply resented taxation. To them, only slaves paid taxes. The seeds of the Teutoburg Forest rebellion were thus sown. Those who defy imperial authority shall be executed without mercy. In 6 AD, Emperor Augustus appointed Varus governor of Germania to implement Roman law and taxes. Relations between Rome and the Germanic tribes had been peaceful until now, when the new tax was announced requiring each tribe to pay either 20 cows or 5,000 pounds of grain. Widespread discontent erupted. But throughout history, strength speaks loudest. Even Segimur, chief of the powerful Cherusei tribe, dared not object. The Roman centurion gave them 3 days to comply, then left for the next village. That night, Segimur convened a tribal council, summoning nearby chiefs and urging them to resist Rome. But this was like striking a stone with an egg. Most chiefs refused to join. Left with no choice, Segimur announced he would maintain peace with Rome. 3 days later, the Roman centurion returned to the Cherusei to collect taxes only to find their grain supply insufficient. Since these barbarians weren't cooperating, he decided to seize what he wanted. As Roman soldiers drove off the tribe's cattle and sheep, its most vital resources, Segimur grew agitated. When he protested, the centurion ordered a Roman cavalryman to ride forward and force Segimur to kneel and kiss the eagle standard in submission. Segimur refused. As a war faction leader, he glanced at his warriors, considering open rebellion, but Segestes, a peace faction leader, sensed his intent and quickly knelt before the eagle. As Segestes lifted the eagle to kiss it, his daughter Thusnelda suddenly rushed forward, trying to stop him. In the ensuing scuffle, the centurion grabbed her by the hair, intending to drag her back to the Roman camp. Her young brother, seeing this, charged forward and bit the centurion, only to be struck on the head with the hilt of the centurion's sword. Realizing the situation was spiraling, Segimur relented, kneeling to kiss the eagle. The centurion left with the tribute. Yet among the Germanic chiefs, there were always those unafraid of death. The next day, one such chief was brought to the Roman camp. Varus offered him a chance to kiss the eagle and the incident would be forgotten. Instead, the chief spat on the eagle, an unforgivable insult. Varus immediately ordered his adoptive son Arminius to execute the chief. Arminius, Segimer's eldest son, had been sent to Rome in his youth for peace, along with his brother, and adopted by Varus. Now Varus was testing his loyalty by having him kill a fellow tribesman. Arminius understood perfectly and without hesitation, took the centurion's sword and carried out the execution. His unwavering Roman loyalty pleased Varus greatly, but Varus did not know Arminius had never forgotten he was a Germanic warrior. He was merely waiting for the right opportunity. Meanwhile, Thusnelda and Folkwin, seeking revenge, plotted to steal the eagle standard from the Roman camp. They recruited 2 trusted berserkers and set their plan in motion. Their plan had 3 steps. First, Folkwin led Thusnelda to the Roman camp, presenting her as a gift for the centurion Metellus. Given Metellus's well-known indulgences, the guards allowed them through without question. Next, they slipped into the tent where the eagle was kept, killing the guards inside. Step 1 complete. Meanwhile, the 2 berserkers entered through an external latrine, diving into the cesspit, holding their breath, and navigating through the waste tunnel into the camp. They emerged in a soldier's tent. Once Folkwin and Thusnelda had armed themselves, the 2 berserkers, now disguised in Roman uniforms, joined them, bringing a barrel of gunpowder. When Roman soldiers rushed to extinguish the resulting fire, the 4 slipped out of the camp unnoticed. Arminius soon arrived at the scene. On the ground, he spotted a wolf tooth pendant familiar to him. He rushed to his quarters to compare it with his own wolf tooth. As children, he, Folkwin, and Thusnelda had hunted a wolf together. These teeth were their trophies. He instantly realized it was his childhood friends who had stolen the eagle. To Rome, the eagle was the highest symbol of military honor, now brazenly stolen by 4 barbarians. The Germanic governor was enraged. This insult to the empire could not stand. He ordered the eagle recovered at all costs. But with hundreds of villages in Germania, the search was like finding a needle in a haystack. Naturally, the task fell to Arminius, a German himself, whose language skills would prove vital. At dawn, Arminius set out with a squad of soldiers. Meanwhile, Folkwin and Thusnelda had just returned to the Cherusci tribe. When the villagers saw Folkwin holding the eagle, they erupted in cheers. Even Chief Segimer raised the eagle high, shouting with joy. After years of humiliation at Roman hands, this was sweet revenge. Yet one face remained grim. Thusnelda's father suggests. Soon, the villagers gathered around the eagle, dancing the Alemannic dance and celebrating through the night. Back at home, Thusnelda and Folkwin shared a tender moment. Their relationship remained secret from the tribe. As night fell, shouts rang out. Villagers hurried to hide the eagle within the stronghold. Not knowing what was happening, they barred the gates and prepared for battle, only to see a lone figure approach. It was Arminius. After entering deep into Germania, Arminius had split his forces. He now came alone to retrieve the eagle. Father and son meeting after many years had little to say. Arminius still resented being handed over to Rome. He didn't even know his mother had been dead for 6 years. However, he still brought a gift for his father, a sandglass for keeping time, and warned him not to foolishly oppose Rome. What they didn't know was that there was a traitor within the tribe, suggests. He had already rushed to the Roman camp overnight and informed Varus about the stolen eagle. Of course, he placed all the blame squarely on Folkwin alone. In return, he asked Varus to support him in becoming the new chieftain. Varus agreed and decided to personally lead a team to the Cherusci tribe. Meanwhile, the berserker Barolf was planning to take revenge on Arminius, as the executed chief from the Claudi tribe was his uncle. According to tribal law, only the gods had the right to sentence someone to death. Barolf believed Arminius was no match for him and even managed to injure his waist with an axe strike. Fortunately, the armor absorbed much of the force, sparing him from instant death. Barolf then pinned Arminius down and began pummeling him. Folkwin couldn't bear to watch his old friend get beaten to death, so he attacked Barolf from behind and knocked him down. Warning everyone present, the other warriors didn't intervene directly. Instead, they brought a basin of cold water and dumped it over Barolf's head. Barolf instantly regained consciousness, and a comrade handed him a hammer. Learning that Arminius was being treated at the chieftain's house, Barolf grabbed the hammer and stormed off to settle the score. Finding the chieftain's door locked, Barolf began hammering on it, loudly calling the chieftain's name. Folkwin tried to stop him but was knocked down with a punch. Segimer opened the door to block Barolf, while Folkwin raised his sword to Barolf's neck, warning him not to disrespect the chieftain. Just then, Arminius rode out of the house on horseback, carrying the eagle. Seeing this, Folkwin grabbed a nearby spear and gave chase. As Arminius galloped away, Folkwin hurled the spear with all his strength, but the spear missed. Folkwin quickly retrieved it and ran into the woods. Taking a shortcut, using his knowledge of the terrain, he managed to get ahead of Arminius. Seeing this, Arminius abandoned his horse to buy more time on foot. When Folkwind caught up, Arminius had already reached a canyon. Folkwind threw the spear again but missed, earning only mockery from Arminius. After taunting him, Arminius turned to leave. Enraged, Folkwind recklessly leapt off a cliff. Though the move was bold and daring, he ended up gravely injured and unconscious. While he lay unconscious, Varus had already arrived with troops at the tribe. When Folkwind returned to the village, he found 4 crosses erected in the square, each with a corpse nailed to it. It wasn't until he got closer that he realized they were his parents and siblings, all because he had stolen the Roman eagle. Just a few hours earlier, Roman governor Varus had come to the Cherusci tribe, investigating the eagle's whereabouts. From the traitor suggests, he had learned that a young man named Folkwind had stolen it and demanded the chieftain surrender him, but the chieftain claimed he didn't know where Folkwind was. Varus didn't press further. He had other means. Guided by suggests, he went straight to Folkwind's home, killing his father on the spot and taking his mother and siblings prisoner. By nightfall, with Folkwind still missing, Varus had the other 3 nailed to crosses. The Cherusci dared not resist. Varus issued a final warning: if they did not surrender the eagle and Folkwind, Rome would no longer maintain peace with the tribe. Having said this, Varus left with his soldiers. The people began cursing Suggests, calling him a traitor. Suggests defended himself, claiming everything he had done was for the tribe, that it was Folkwind who had violated the sacred agreement of the tribal council and angered the gods, thus bringing this upon himself. In Germanic tradition, arguing in front of the chieftain was forbidden, so Segemur dismissed everyone. Whether Suggests was right or wrong was left unresolved. At that moment, Folkwind finally awoke from his coma. Returning to the tribe, he saw the crucified bodies. His lover thus Nelda urged him to flee, warning that if captured, he would surely be killed. But Folkwind was paralyzed with grief. Neither noticed that Barolf and his group of berserkers had arrived. Fortunately, they meant no harm. They intended to follow Folkwind and fight against Rome. That same night, they headed deeper into Germania, reaching the territory of the Treva tribe by midday. There, they were immediately surrounded. Luckily, the Treva tribe had long opposed Rome. The chieftain, having heard of a warrior who stole the Roman eagle, eagerly pledged to join Folkwind's cause. Meanwhile, Arminius returned to the Roman camp with the eagle. Varus was very pleased and immediately sent a messenger to nominate Arminius for the rank of Roman knight. This was an honor every Roman soldier dreamed of. Arminius was equally thrilled. Varus then assigned him one final task: to capture Folkwind. Arminius couldn't refuse, so he set out with Centurion Metellus. That night, they arrived at the Cherusci tribe and encountered a member of the Treva tribe. It was clear the bald chieftain had betrayed Folkwind. Back at the Treva tribe, Folkwind sensed something amiss outside. He quickly woke his companions, preparing for a fight, but it was only a sheep at the door. The warriors laughed, unaware this was the chieftain's signal. Upon seeing the signal, the women pulled out daggers and launched a surprise attack. Fortunately, the warriors were already awake, suffering only one casualty. Soon after, the chieftain and his men stormed in. Folkwind killed one attacker, then shouted for his comrades to escape through the back door. They rushed outside. To buy them time, Barolf held the door alone. Folkwind shouted that it wasn't necessary and urged him to flee, but Barolf stubbornly used his life to buy them over 10 seconds. The next morning, Arminius arrived at the tribe only to learn Folkwind had escaped. Without delay, he led his men deeper into Germania in pursuit. The Romans loved crucifying their enemies to display Roman might, and here was a man foolish enough to steal the Roman eagle. The consequences were clear. Not only were his family crucified, but he now had to flee into the deep forests. Yet the Roman pursuit was relentless. By nightfall, they had cornered them in the woods. After a bloody battle, all of Folkwind's companions were killed. He believed he too was doomed. Unexpectedly, Roman officer Arminius suddenly turned, killing the Roman centurion beside him. Arminius was, after all, a Germanic warrior and had saved his childhood friend Folkwind. In Folkwind's stunned gaze, Arminius swiftly finished off the last Roman soldier. Moments later, thus Nelda also arrived. The 3 childhood friends were finally reunited. Arminius told them he had waited many years for the chance to strike back at Rome, and now, that opportunity had come. He sent the 2 of them to contact the various tribal chiefs, spreading the message of resistance against Rome. Meanwhile, he casually beheaded a random Germanic man and returned to the Roman camp, claiming this was Folkwind. As for the soldiers who accompanied him, he explained that they had faced fierce resistance during the pursuit, and none of them had survived. Varus did not doubt Arminius' story. In fact, he was quite pleased. Immediately after, He assigned Arminius a new task to become the new chieftain of the Cherusci tribe and help Rome better conquer Germania. He also told him that he had already persuaded Segimur to step down, but according to Germanic tradition, a new chieftain could only be chosen upon the death of the previous one. Concerned for his biological father's safety, Arminius rushed to the Cherusci tribe, but it was already too late. Segimur had entered the swamps and taken his own life. The next day, news of Segimur's death was brought back to the tribe by the priest. The happiest of all was Suggests he had coveted the chieftain's seat for a long time. He told the people, "A nation cannot go a day without a king, and a tribe cannot go a day without a chieftain. I am your new chieftain." But to his surprise, Arminius arrived with his personal guards and declared himself the rightful heir to the chieftaincy as Segimur's biological son. Suggests never expected this outcome, but he had no real grounds to contest it. And so, Arminius became the new chieftain of the Cherusci tribe, officially beginning his path of resistance against Rome. To strengthen his influence among the other tribes, he sought out Folkwin and Thusnelda. Since Thusnelda was both a noble daughter, a hero for stealing the eagle, and a Germanic prophetess, he hoped she would marry him. For Folkwin, this was a devastating blow. He and Thusnelda had long been lovers, but for the sake of their people, they both had to support Arminius's decision. Since the Romans believed Folkwin was already dead, he could not return to the tribe and was forced to wander alone. Soon, Arminius and Thusnelda held their wedding ceremony, while Folkwin watched from a distance in secret. Arminius succeeded in winning over several tribal chiefs, increasing their anti-Roman force by 2,000 men. However, most chiefs were still wary of his Roman background. Arminius still needed to earn their full support. That night, the couple was surrounded by the people, wrapped tightly together with cloth. After the priest gave his blessing, they were allowed to proceed. Though Arminius had feelings for Thusnelda, he refrained from doing anything. Even when it was time to sleep, he was restless, but did not want to force Thusnelda, so he turned away. Little did he know Thusnelda was only pretending to sleep. She liked Arminius but did not want to betray Folkwin. Meanwhile, Folkwin was in a miserable state. Depressed, he drank himself into a stupor and ended up getting captured by a pair of Roman soldiers escorting slaves. The next day, one of Arminius's personal guards found a wolf-tooth pendant in the nearby forest. It clearly belonged to Folkwin, but when they arrived, they only found a burned corpse, believing Folkwin to be dead. That evening, a tribal council was held. All the chiefs were invited. Arminius encouraged them to join him in resisting Rome. If all the tribes united, they could defeat the 3 Roman legions. According to his knowledge, after the summer campaign, the Roman legions would soon return to Vetera, an ideal time for an ambush. He planned to lure the legions into the forests and swamps, ensuring their long marching columns would be unable to support each other. Thusnelda also spoke to rally the crowd.
For our children! For our freedom! Let's fight as one people! Let's stand up as one people! Let's triumph as one people!
The assembly quickly became enthusiastic except for Suggests and Hadgon, the chieftain of the Catti tribe. Everyone was willing to fight, but to achieve this, Arminius still needed to persuade Varus to alter the Roman marching route. This was no easy task. If discovered, he would likely be crucified. Thusnelda became deeply worried. With Folkwin gone, she didn't want to lose Arminius as well, and so, naturally, the two shared a passionate night together. Afterward, Arminius set out overnight, arriving at the Roman camp early the next morning. Unfortunately, Suggests had also arrived there. Given his past behavior, he would likely betray the Germanic people again. Arminius was now in great danger. 3 fully organized Roman legions, over 18,000 men, were marching slowly through the Germanic forests, including cavalry and camp followers. Their total numbers were around 35,000. Meanwhile, about 15,000 Germanic warriors waited on either side of the forest, blades sharpened, ready to ambush the Roman legions. This was the famous Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, a great Germanic victory over Italy. But to everyone's astonishment, the supreme Germanic commander Arminius was actually the adopted son of the Roman general Varus, and Varus had received a warning from the Germanic traitor Suggests before the march. Seeing the plan was exposed, Arminius's mind raced. After some quick thinking, he decided to play along, claiming everything Suggests had said was true. Varus was stunned. He didn't know whom to trust. After all, he had raised Arminius from childhood, and his adopted son had always shown unwavering loyalty. Then Arminius added, My plan was to use merely 500 barbarian brothers to lure tens of thousands of Roman soldiers into the forest and kill them. Here, Arminius deliberately downplayed the Germanic numbers. Seeing Varus hesitate, Arminius continued to insist that everything Segestes said was true, his face innocent, his eyes full of false grievance. Varus made up his mind. Segestes dares to sow discord between me and my son. Segestes was helpless. He had risked everything to become a spy, hoping to rise to glory only to be accused of sowing division. He tried to regain Varus's trust, but was thrown out of the command tent. Soon after, Varus led his 35,000-strong legion out. Due to the dense Germanic forests, their columns were forced into a long, narrow formation, and this was exactly what Arminius planned to exploit, attacking the column where it was weakest. As they approached the Marsi tribe, Varus became cautious. He ordered Arminius to scout ahead through the woods. Clearly, Segestes' warning had influenced Varus to some degree. Arminius had no choice but to take his Germanic guards into the forest, and with that, he lost the chance to strike Varus by surprise. From the moment Segestes betrayed him to the start of the march, Arminius had been under immense pressure. Now, finally able to breathe, he couldn't stop himself from vomiting. Meanwhile, Thusnelda was praying to the gods for protection. Her former fiancé, Hadgon, suddenly appeared. Seeing they were alone, he tried to seduce her, hoping to die without regrets if he fell in battle, but Thusnelda pressed a knife to his throat. Hadgon, already reluctant to fight this war, immediately led his warriors away from the Germanic lines. Seeing this, other chiefs also began wavering. The army's morale was at risk. Thusnelda reminded everyone that Arminius was risking his life to lure the Roman legions into the forest. They could not abandon him, but mere words were not enough to sway the chiefs, so she drew her knife and slowly raised it before her. As a prophetess, she vowed to call upon the right eye of Odin the Allfather to give them victory against Rome, to fight Rome with Odin's eye.
It's proof you want? It's proof you want?
The tribal chiefs were momentarily stunned. At that moment, Thusnelda slowly raised her head, her right eye filled with blood, her left eye with tears, one eye of the gods, one eye of a mortal. She silently gazed at the chiefs, then spoke Odin's prophecy. May I? Then, with Odin's eye, she revealed the chiefs' futures. Chief Jurek, your descendants will never forget your deeds this day. Chief Odrich, you will be bathed in Roman gold. And you, dear Chief Gormat, Thor himself will gaze upon you with pride. Then she turned to the surrounding warriors and proclaimed, I hear a song of your courage and valor. This song will be sung forever. No warrior can refuse victory and eternal glory. The crowd was instantly stirred, eager to slay the Romans on the spot. Before long, the long Roman column reached deep into the forest. Arminius was in no rush to act. As agreed with the chiefs, the plan was to wait until the entire Roman column entered the forest, then attack section by section. As one tree after another toppled across the path, the Roman rear guard became fragmented into small, isolated groups. Thus began the battle that Rome would forever regard as a disgrace. The rear Roman soldiers were the first to be attacked. At the centurion's command, they abandoned their supplies, drew their swords, and raised their shields for defense. But they could not see how many enemies surrounded them. Only the sound of deafening roars echoed from all sides. As Thusnelda raised her right hand, the Germanic warriors suddenly fell silent. It was the calm before the storm. Countless spears flew in from all directions. The Romans, trapped in low ground, were overwhelmed by the high ground barrage. With Thusnelda's command, the Germanic warriors charged. The Roman soldiers could not form a proper legion square, nor could they link their armor into a unified defense. Soon they were slaughtered. The Roman center fared no better. In Germania, every man became a soldier. When called to arms, they fought with reckless abandon. Even many housewives joined the battle, contributing in their own way. The Roman soldiers thought nothing could be more terrifying until they turned to see their own commander, Arminius, bearing Odin's one-eyed totem. Their hearts froze with dread. Meanwhile, the traitor Segestes found Hadgon, who had not joined the battle. Segestes was certain Arminius could not defeat the Roman legions. He urged Hadgon to seize the chance to kill Arminius, then they could rule all the tribes. Hadgon was immediately tempted. At the front of the Roman column, Varus remained unaware of the battle until a centurion from the 19th Legion reported the rear had been attacked and suffered heavy losses. Varus quickly ordered the legions to retreat to open ground and form defensive squares against the barbarian assault. Soon, the Germanic warriors completely surrounded them. A warrior raised a torch, lighting prearranged fires. Varus's newly formed square was again broken into fragments. Arminius led the charge. at the head of his warriors. Seeing the tide turn, Varus quickly withdrew to the sidelines to observe. Some Germanic warriors fought for freedom, some fought for their children, many fought for the gods, but all shared an overwhelming thirst for victory. However, they were still outnumbered and many fell to Roman swords. In the midst of the bloodshed, thus Nelda turned and spotted her younger brother standing frozen in the crowd. A moment later, she saw Folkwind appear beside him, realizing at last that Folkwind was still alive. She rushed to protect her brother. At that moment, the battle looked grim. Whether by divine intervention, rain began to pour from the heavens. The Romans' proud armor, once their greatest strength, became a burden as it grew heavy with water. Meanwhile, the Germanic warriors, lightly equipped, gained the upper hand. Roman soldiers were cut down one after another. Even the Legion Eagle was seized by Folkwind. Varus realized the battle was lost and that his trust in Arminius had led to this disaster. He ordered his servant to strip off his armor. Then, kneeling before Arminius, he took a sword and plunged it into his own body. The battle raged on even after the rain had stopped. Segests and Hadgon arrived on the battlefield. Seeing the Roman legions in utter defeat, they changed sides, joining the slaughter of the Romans. Segests found Varus's corpse and, with one stroke, severed his head. He then raised the head high. In this battle of the Teutoburg forests, nearly all 35,000 Roman soldiers were annihilated. The Legion Eagle, symbol of Roman glory, became a barbarian trophy. For Rome, newly reorganized into an empire and eager to expand, this was a devastating blow. Emperor Augustus would not take this lying down. He would seek to utterly destroy Germania, leaving no man nor beast alive. I'm a movie enthusiast. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.